We've made it to the halfway point of our course. Welcome to week 5. This week, our focus is on ethics. Ethics are very important in the world of social sciences because we're dealing with human subjects. So, what is ethics? Well, ethics are moral principles or guidelines that govern behavior. Ethics are about honesty, fairness, honor, and integrity. As you will read in your module overview for the week, each discipline in the social sciences has their own specific code of ethics. I put a link for these in the start of the week announcement so you can take a look at any of those that may interest you. The number one goal is always to do no harm. No harm to participants, their families, or future generations. This doesn't mean that all research is risk-free or that risks can't or shouldn't be taken. It just means the impact of those risks needs to be minimized as best as possible. It also means that the participants need to know and understand the risks and benefits of the research. All this gets conveyed through the informed consent. It's usually a document that explains what the study is, what the goal of the study is, how research will be conducted, and what potential risks accompany participation in the study. It also usually gives the participant the opportunity to ask for a copy of the findings of the study once it's completed. Signing a consent does not mean that a person is obligated to see the study through to completion. Anyone can change their minds about participating at any time. Another way participants are protected is through confidentiality. Any sensitive information is kept confidential. Aliases, code names, initials, these are all ways to protect the names of the participants. Other information needs to remain confidential as well. You will find more important information about ethics and research within your module overview. The code of ethics did not always exist, and research has not always been done ethically. Even in the days of a code of ethics, there are sometimes unethical studies. Back in Module 3, you read about the Stanford prison experiment and its researcher, Philip Zimbardo. At the time, Zimbardo's experiment was viewed as unethical due to the treatment of people who were classified as prisoners. They were picked up in police cars in front of their homes and handcuffed, often right in front of their neighbors. Once they reached the makeshift prison at the school, they were stripped naked and deloused, just like real prisoners were. They were treated as inferiors by those study participants who were acting as guards. While the horrible treatment of participants who were classified as prisoners was apparent from the start, in the years since the experiment, more has been learned about how truly unethical this study was. As you saw in that Module 3 overview, Zimbardo went into the experiment with the goal of showing how bad the prison system was and how much prison reform was needed. He gave the participants portraying guards training on how to behave and how to treat prisoners. He did what he could to set things up in a way that would portray the prison system in a poor light, even at the expense of the participants and their welfare. That most important thing, do no harm, was not honored in the Stanford prison experiment. There are a lot of other unethical experiments, and you'll learn about a few more in the resources in that first video that you'll be watching. We've been working with advertisements in this course, so it's only natural for us to move on to talking about ethics in advertising. Advertisers have similar ethical obligations to social scientists. Ethical advertising needs to be truthful, honest, not deceptive, fair, and backed by evidence. Advertisers try to appeal to our desires to get us to buy their product. For example, trying to appeal to the desire to be more attractive. But they need to act in an ethical manner. Your module overview gives some great examples. In the optional course resources, titled The Media's Influence on Eating Disorders, you can learn a little bit more about how things like advertising can really impact body image. I do want to provide a trigger warning. As an eating disorder therapist, I want to make sure to say that it is not required reading, and if you feel that you may be triggered, please do not read this article. If you have any questions on this, please let me know. Media and journalists also need to abide by ethics. The Society of Professional Journalists says that ethical journalism presents information accurately, fairly, thoroughly, and with integrity. Your module overview will give you a lot of information about ethics in journalism along with some examples. One topic from this that I want to discuss is related to the murder of Kitty Genovese. For anyone unfamiliar with the story, Kitty Genovese, in 1964, was a 28-year-old woman who was stabbed just outside her apartment building in Queens, New York, around 2:30 in the morning when she was returning home from her work as a bartender. You can read about the news headlines that were published in the module overview, but a bit of the true story of that night is that a man working in the apartment building across the street saw the first attack on Kitty and yelled to scare the attacker away. When the attacker left, he thought Kitty was safe and he went to go take a nap. A man inside Kitty's apartment building thought he heard something going on outside, but when he called some friends in the building, none of them had heard anything. He wondered if he imagined it. He never called the police because no one else seemed to have heard what he did. This story was sensationalized by a journalist. Interestingly enough, this unethical journalism led to unethical social science experiments. You'll learn more about that in the first video you watch from this week's module overview. In your module overview, you have some great information about what is called the ACT UP method. These are great questions to ask in order to verify a source and determine if it's ethical. This can help you to be a better consumer, to stop posting untrue information on social media, or even to find sources for your school assignments. Speaking of assignments, for your assignments this week, you are going to be taking a look at ethics as it relates to advertising, journalism, and media. In your initial post to the Module 5 discussion board, you are going to be exploring the case studies from the Society of Professional Journalists and trying to answer a question posed in the case study you select. Your initial post to this discussion board is due by 11:59 p.m. in your time zone on Thursday. For your 2 response posts, you'll see if you can offer any additional insight related to the case study posted by your peers and discuss if advertisers, journalists, and social scientists should be held to different ethical standards. Those 2 response posts are due by 11:59 p.m. in your time zone on Sunday. In your Module 5 assignment, you are going to finalize your research question, take a deeper look into processing information using social science perspectives, and discuss how finding the answer to your research question may impact others. Make sure you're checking your feedback from last week's assignment to see if you need to make any changes to your research question. Your Module 5 assignment is due by 11:59 p.m. in your time zone on Sunday. As always, there will be announcements with additional details on these assignments, so be sure to watch for those. And don't forget, if you have any questions, I'm here to help. You can email me at r.enco@snhu.edu, or you can post your questions in the General Questions discussion board. Have a terrific week, everyone. I'm here if you need me for anything.